Hello everyone, how's it going? Elliot here again. In today's video, we're going to be having a look at the Power Up Advance by Modmatic. It's a tiny little board which you plug into your GameBoy Advance, whack a lithium-ion battery on there, and then you get a rechargeable functionality in your GameBoy Advance. So it's perfect if you want to have a longer battery life in your Game Boy, and also if you install a backlight mod on there and a couple of other bits and bobs, you might want some more power. So yeah, the Power Up Advance is what we're going to be having a look at today. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Before we go any further, I would just like to say that the purchase link and the written tutorial will be in the description below. So everything comes in a really nice little anti-static bag. So go ahead and take everything out and lay it out on your table. There's lots of little different individual bags inside which contain all of the cool little bits and bobs we're going to need to build this. The only thing you might need to get is a lithium-ion battery if you didn't buy the kit with it. So I live on a small island called Jersey, and it's been very, very difficult for me to get a lithium-ion battery in to Jersey, but we'll talk about that when we get to the battery. So what you're going to need to do is clean up the motherboard. It will come with a little bit of bits and bobs around the outside, little burrs and whatnot. You just want to get a Dremel out or a file and remove those. Be really careful not to breathe that dust in because it's very, very bad for you. Once the board is nice and clean, get the two diodes out of the bag. So the diodes are polarized, which means they can basically only go one way, and you can tell which way they go on the board because you can match up the little white rings on the diode and on the board. So just make sure you're getting those in the right way. Bend the legs, push them in, and then add some solder to the back, and then move on to the next bit. Grab the other diode and bend the legs and pop that on the board, again making sure that you've got your lines lined up, and then solder the legs to the points on the back of the board. Once all of these are added, you can go ahead and trim up all the legs. It's going to need to be nice and flush on the back. We are going to be adding a little adhesive pad which will give it a little bit of separation from the battery, but obviously you don't want to leave any legs sticking out in case it punctures the battery. After this, we're going to add the voltage regulator to the board. Now this is quite a fun one. It's got 3 legs coming off it. You just need to separate them slightly and push it through the board. Make sure you're leaving like 3 or 4 millimeters of legs above because obviously it can't go down all the way. And then you're going to need to bend it so that it's nice and flush on the board. And obviously there is only one way this can go. The flat side is going to be going down. Next up, we're going to be adding the 2 capacitors to the right hand side of the board. Just clip them off and push them in, add a little bit of solder to the back, and it's as easy as that. So now we can add the female socket that's going to be going to the rechargeable board. It's just 4 little wires and everything is already nice and kind of angled, so you don't need to do any bending. Just plug it in, add a bit of solder. Now it's time to add the male legs onto the rechargeable board. It's just 4 little pins. Go ahead and add some solder and put it to the back of the board and you're done. There's one last thing we're going to need to do, and this is probably one of the most difficult parts of this board. There's 2 little metal kind of spring contacts which are going to press into the board. There's like 2 groove cutouts for them. I struggled very, very much to get them absolutely flush. I'm not even sure if it is possible. Maybe you could get a Dremel and open it up a little bit, but I think as long as they're in the rough right direction, it should be okay. You're going to need to add a lot of solder and heat a lot because these pads are very, very big, and as are the metal connectors. So add a load of solder, push it through, and you should see everything bubble up and be nice and smooth. You're also going to need to remove a little bit of plastic inside the battery bay. Just use some cutters and a Dremel and clean up as much as you need to clean up in order to get the battery in. My battery that I'm ending up actually using is very, very small, so I probably didn't need to do this step. But it just depends on what battery you're going to be using. So the last couple of steps are optional. So you can do a little bit of work to the battery cover to make everything a little bit more easy. So there's 2 things you can do. There's 2 little LEDs on the rechargeable board which tell you when the battery is getting low and when it's charging. So you can pick up a small little piece of acrylic which Modmatic are calling the light pipe. Drill a little hole in the battery cover and push that through. You can use a bit of super glue to hold it in if you want. And the other thing you can do is actually expose the micro USB slot, which just is a little bit of Dremel work again. I choose not to do that because it makes everything look a little bit more obviously modded. Obviously to recharge this, you can just lift up the battery cover. And the final step is to plug the rechargeable lithium ion battery in. And now I'm going to be doing this bit live because I haven't done this yet. So I picked up a very, very small rechargeable lithium ion battery. and it is literally 120 milliamps, which is about the same power capacity as a bloody grape. But as I mentioned earlier, it's quite difficult to get rechargeable batteries onto the island that I live on. So the charging port on this isn't quite the right size, so I'm just going to snip that off. So I'm not actually going to add any solder onto this because I don't want this battery to be the final battery that I use, but it's the only thing I have right now to test this with. So I'm just going to twist the wires together and add a little bit of shrink tube, and then we should be ready to go. So the kit actually includes 2 wires and the charging slot already on there. So if you do end up sourcing your own battery, you do have the right connector for it. I would advise checking the website and the specifications of the battery to match the one that the website says you can use. There's also a little point on the board, on the rechargeable board, that if your battery has more than a 500 milliamp current going through it, then you can bridge that connector, and I think then it allows the full potential of the battery to be used or something like that. So just definitely check out the specification of your battery against the ones on the website. So I've now added the connector onto the battery and put a little bit of shrink tube on there. We can go ahead and get a match. This is the fun part because I do love fire. And just hold that over here. Try and avoid getting close to the battery because battery and fire is bad. You can also use the kind of double-sided adhesive pad to adhere your battery onto the back of the board if you want, but I'm not going to do that because, as I said, I don't want this battery being the permanent solution for me because it's quite small. And then plug it in, and that should be it. Oh my goodness, it actually works. That is a kind of a surprise, although not a surprise at the same time because I trust Modmatic have a good product. There we go, close the battery bay up, it's all nice and flush, and happy days. The Game Boy turns on with absolutely no problems at all. As I mentioned, you probably don't want to use a lower kind of capacity battery than what the sum of 2 AA's would offer you, because I think using like an 850 milliamp battery, which is the milliamp hour battery, which is the one that the kit comes with, if you buy that, gives you 6 to 7 hours of battery life, which is rather good. So there we go. That's pretty much going to be a conclusion to this kind of tutorial. In terms of my opinion, I would say that this has been a lot of fun. That looks very, very cool in the back there. It's all very, very neat. It all closes up very nice. If you did drill a hole for the rechargeable micro USB slot, then it would be at the bottom there. And again, I'm still not too sure that I'd want to do that, but some people might opt to do that themselves. But that's pretty much it. I'll show you some footage of it charging. I'm sure the light pipe works very well. I'm not getting any light through there at the moment, but maybe that's just because it doesn't emit light at the moment. But yeah, I mean, everything works great. I don't really know what else to say, to be honest with you. It's a rechargeable mod and it works, and it's fun and it's easy, and yeah, probably very effective if you use a bigger battery than 120 milliamp hours. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you very much to Modmatic for sending this out to me. If you want to see more little mod kind of videos like this, then let me know in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.